Welcome on into the podcast. I'm Brett.
I'm Dorian.
We got some nerd news for you.
We do. We're going to be talking about Sony buying Evo. MoviePass might be making a comeback. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. And we've watched the Snyder Cut, all 4 hours of it. We're going to be talking about that. But to kick things off, start with some bad news. Gotham Knights has been delayed.
Yeah, just for a year, basically. We don't really know a whole lot about it, but it looks like they're looking at some redesigns, which is unfortunate because I feel like they had a pretty good model going off of the other games they made. But
Right.
yeah, maybe with the multiplayer and all that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I want to say it was a couple months back that they were talking about redesigning the combat to make it more suited for a multiplayer experience, or at least like for the style of game that they were going for. So, seeing how combat is like primarily what you're going to be doing the majority of the game, you gotta take some time to get that right. So I kind of figured that we'd be getting a delay sooner or later.
Speaking of combat, Evo has been bought by Sony.
Yeah.
Now, this is pretty big because there's a lot of implications here, meaning, most of the franchises that are there will be fine. But the big one we have to look at is that of our beloved Super Smash Bros. Because it's a Nintendo entity.
Correct.
And they already do some of their own tournaments and stuff like that. So what do you think is going to happen with all this?
Yeah, so just to clue some people in on a few things. So basically,
what
if you don't know,
what is Evo? Yeah, what is Evo?
Exactly. Basically, Evo is where the best of the best for like fighting games of all kinds. Like we're talking Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom, Dragon Ball Fighters, and of course Smash Brothers. This is where they come to play. It's basically the Super Bowl for fighting games. It's like the biggest fighting game tournament in the world. So basically the big thing is after Sony bought this, a lot of people were wondering, okay, so where does that put Smash Brothers? And Nintendo made a statement and basically congratulated Sony on them purchasing Evo. And their statement essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, said that they are going to assess whether or not Smash will make an appearance at Evo or not. They're kind of weighing their options. So, it's kind of a wait and see approach. I mean, it would be a shame if they pulled out at Evo just because Smash has like a pretty big history at Evo. It's one of the most popular games there. It's one of the most watched. I mean, I guess they could always make their own event or like an equivalent, but it's not going to be the same. It's going to be, you're going to lose something.
Right.
There's going to be things lost in translation. And so, I mean, I hope that Nintendo says, okay, even though Sony does own this thing now, we're still going to allow Smash Brothers to come out and play essentially here. But hard to say.
Yeah. We shall see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, another news that the Avatar universe is on its way. There's been, obviously multiple stories have been in development, and the first is to start later this year, actually, which is good news.
Yeah.
In an interview with the head of Nickelodeon, Brian Robbins said that we are in the early stages of development and exploring what we are calling an entire Avatar airbending universe. Interesting, they use Avatar airbending universe.
That is an interesting indication here. I mean, maybe it's just because Last Airbender was the starting off point. Yeah.
Robbins continued to say, Mike and Brian, the creators, are hard at work, and I think that that universe will encompass definitely a theatrical film, animation, and certainly multiple TV series, and probably multiple films. I think we will be ready very soon to tell the world what is coming first, but we are not there yet because we're in early stages of creative development. And all I have to say to this is bring it. Just do it. Give it to us now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this isn't like so much news. I feel like we've like anybody with two brain cells to rub together kind of saw this coming for the
Oh
most
yeah,
part. I mean, you
it's
you,
straight
you
out the
don't you
mouth
don't
of the
create
head of Nickelodeon though. So
right. You don't go and make a entire dedicated studio without putting out like all sorts of new stuff. I mean, we already know we're getting a movie, and I mean, it was. I don't think it was ever officially announced that we were going to get a series per se. They like listed it, but I mean, I guess it's cool that now we
yeah,
got some official confirmation. I guess so. Yeah, no, it's great.
right, yeah,
I'm just curious to see like what we're gonna get because I feel like they got to start off as something Last Airbender related, or they have to go maybe with like Avatar 1, like starting things out, like, to make that to
yeah.
get people interested and like on board and, reignite uh essentially a dormant franchise here, so to speak.
Yeah, I definitely think they'll go with OG Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's what everyone's been waiting for. So
I would
anyway,
imagine so.
let's talk some. Yeah, let's talk some Game of Thrones because apparently they just keep dangling spin-offs in front of us, and now we got a new one, or actually three new ones. So let's
3.
talk about it. Yeah,
So, yeah, HBO, excuse me, just recently ordered 3 new projects. Now, no indication whether or not these are just going to be like TV shows or if they're going to be just like maybe 2-hour long TV movies or something like that here. But we have 3 new projects that are going to be prequels to Game of Thrones. So one will focus on the Kingdom of Dorne and how it was founded, which is actually doesn't sound like too bad of an idea, just because I know a lot of people who read the books were disappointed with how Dorne was portrayed in Game of Thrones. There was like a lot of stuff that got cut that didn't make it from page to screen. So I think that's actually going to be a worthwhile one. Another one that I personally don't get is one that's going to be set in Flea Bottom, which is basically like the slum part of King's Landing that we saw in the show. So I'm not entirely sure what the deal is with that. I mean, just that alone on its face doesn't sound like that interesting, but who knows? I mean, I mean, like if they have a decent story to tell, that might be worthwhile. And the last one is going to be focused on Lord. I'm going to butcher the name, but Corlius Valerion, who was the head of House Valerion. So it's going to be kind of going into like how I think Valeria came to be, like why it had such a influence and all that, because you never really see much of um like people from or people of Valeria in the show. You see it referenced like oh, the Valerian steel swords and like the language and like the old ruins, but you never actually see like what it was here per se, or like or all like how it actually functions. So I think this might actually give us more insight into that. So which this brings the number of Game of Thrones spin-offs up to 6, I believe now, because you got House of the Dragon, which is I think is just about to start filming its first season. You got Dunk and Egg, which is like supposed to be coming at some point. There's like going to be an animated version of Game of Thrones. I don't know what that's all about. And then you got these 3. So yeah, 6. So I mean, here's the deal. A franchise as big as Game of Thrones doesn't just go away. It was the biggest TV show for a while there. And but this is, I think, just getting overkill. And who knows? I would be surprised if all these projects actually came to be honest with you, just because at a certain point people will
me
just get
too. Yeah,
fatigued.
yeah, for
So
sure. Uh, Rian Johnson has a new mystery series on Peacock coming out called Poker Face, which I think fits his bill very well. Stay away from Star Wars.
yeah.
He's good at that mystery thriller kind of genre, and so it's gonna have 10 episodes. No release date or anything else at this time. But yeah, I like that Rian Johnson gets to do what he's best at.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Knives Out was pretty good. I know you were like a really big fan of that movie,
Yeah.
and I mean, honestly, this sounds like you're going to kind of get more of that, so to speak, in the certain capacity. So, I mean, no details on like whether or not or if it's going to be a murder mystery or like what it's about, but I think this is a good move on his part, just because I think he's better at creating his own stuff as opposed to adapting something.
Right. All right. Well, we got a delay. Let There Be Carnage, that aka Venom 2,
Mm-hmm.
has been delayed. Was going to come out in June, but now it's looking more like September. September 17th actually is the date, but I don't really pay attention to these dates at all anymore because they keep moving.
Yeah,
In my opinion, why are they getting delayed? They've had more than enough time. Like there have been certain movies, and I can't pull it to my head which ones they've been, but they're getting more time to work on it. I'm like, you've had a year. Your movie was supposed to come out a year ago. How are you still working on it? Um,
yeah,
so I don't really get it. I'm
yeah,
guessing it's more of like a wait and see what happens at the theaters. Here's the deal: whether or not most states let you go back to the theaters, which is insane to me that it's let you go back to the theaters, but
yeah,
like it's going to take about a year before, maybe longer, before theaters I think are at their full capacity again. People are going to take the wait and see approach and just wait and wait and wait. And a lot of people, with how the new models have been coming out with, on demand, people like that. It's cheaper for families to stay at home, cook some popcorn, maybe buy some treats for the kids and all that stuff than it is to go to a movie still. And so $30 for a family of 5 to watch a movie at home, that's a deal.
yeah.
So why, unless they start like studios start kiboshing that and they're saying nope, we're just going to be at the theaters again, but I don't see them doing that. They would get so much flack
Yeah,
from the woke mob that I couldn't even begin to begin to process what they'd be saying, but they would get so much crap from them that they would probably just end up doing a dual model.
honestly, yeah, they probably would, in all honesty. Now, I'm guessing the reason why Let There Be Carnage got delayed was because Fast and the Furious got pushed to June, and so they wanted to steer clear
um
of that. That would be my
yeah,
guess here,
pro-
just because
probably that makes sense actually. That's
I
going to be the
mean,
biggest movie of the summer.
right, and I mean because you got to figure, like, if you're going with limited capacity, I'll bet you anything. Probably what these studios are thinking is like, okay, you know, theaters are not at the capacity that we want them to be, but at the same time, we have less competition that we're going up against. So maybe we'll keep our movies in theaters longer, try to like actually, gain that revenue over, a course of, over a period of time. I don't know. I mean, maybe, maybe not. So, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, so in other news, is MoviePass on its way back to our phones? Because I abused that thing. And for those of you who don't know what this is, it was a subscription service where I don't know if it was at $10 a month. I can't remember what it started at. It was pretty cheap when it started out. But
Yeah.
basically, it was a subscription service that let you see unlimited movies. I didn't get how it worked, and it didn't because they ended up going out
Yeah,
of
because
business. Uh,
or
but
just on the brink of it, one of the two here.
So I remember they started. It was like full on unlimited, like go and see whatever movies you want. And then they got brought back to because probably people like me were going to see 2 movies a week minimum.
Yeah.
They brought it back towards like you could only see one movie once. Like you could only see. And I remember this is when Force Awakens came out because I saw Force Awakens 3 times. Uh, and
Yeah.
so I remember them limiting it. The new releases like you can only see it once. Then they started limiting what movies you can even see, and then I was like, I'm done with this. But apparently, The company's put out something on their website, a message saying the movie is about to start, along with a countdown, which finishes March 22nd, the day that this podcast comes out. So I don't know what's going to happen, but we will once you guys listen to this podcast. So maybe we'll report on it next week as to
Yeah.
what MoviePass has actually done. But if this comes back and it's affordable, I'm about it. I abused this thing when it first came out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, like you, like when I first heard about that, with MoviePass having, the unlimited subscription or whatever, I was just looking at like these guys are gonna go bankrupt. Like, there's no way that this is gonna be profitable for them here, just for like $10 a month. But so I
Yeah.
mean, this whole idea of them coming back, it's curious. I mean, I kind of wonder whether or not they're talking with like some of the major movie theater chains, basically saying like, "Hey, we're not doing well. You're not doing well because of this pandemic, and you guys were already struggling and like seeing lower returns on like people coming back to the movie theaters regardless before the pandemic even hit. Let's work something out. Let's see if we can actually you know, have a last ditch effort, last stand to like keep the movie theater industry still up and running."
Totally. I think that's the only way that it works is if they partner with the current movie theaters and go, "Hey, we're gonna work with you guys a little bit better. You need, let's figure something out." Because here's the thing: is Regal ended up setting up their own movie pass thing, and you could do unlimited. It was a little bit more. I think it was like 20 something dollars a month, which still made sense because most movies cost
Yeah.
about $10 plus a pop, maybe more like 15 now. But
Yeah.
so that model made sense, especially if you're single or it's just you and your wife or whatever. Um, you know, it makes sense for cinemas to do this because you're going to go spend more money at their concessions just because you're like, oh, I didn't really pay for this movie. It's like a mental game. So they're going to spend more money on food and treats and stuff like that than they would, and that's where they're really making their money. So I can totally see this happening and being a real legitimate thing. Now, when MoviePass first came out, I remember I thought it was a racket. I heard about it from one of my friends that lived in Portland, and they were already running with it. And I downloaded it, but
Yeah.
we didn't have anything over here yet. And once we got our first theater, which I think was the AMC here, I can't remember, or it might have been Regal, I don't remember. And then the
I,
Regal where we
I
lived
think it might
got
have
it.
been Regal.
Yeah, and then the Regal where we lived got it, and I was like, "All right, I'm back on this. I'm gonna see what happens," and it worked. And every time I went, I was like, "I'm gonna get denied,"
Yeah.
because I was like, "They're not gonna have money or whatever," but it worked. So, all right. Well, we have some
Yeah.
sequel news for
Well,
some franchises, or did you want to talk about that more?
I did want to just say that I'm guessing probably what they might do going forward is they might have like couple different tiers of
Oh
like
yeah, I'm sure, like a base
subscription model
tier,
here.
like, hey, you could see one premium
Like it
movie a week or something like that, and then
or
all
like
the way
a
up to unlimited. A
yeah, like a
$10, a
$10
15, like
tier,
a 25.
something along those lines, like a $10 tier that gets you like maybe one free movie a month or something like that. Which I mean, that would probably be more along the lines of what I would get, just because typically like there's not like a ton of
What would be
movies
the
coming out.
advantage? Just that discount, or like,
J-
I can
Probably,
see them doing, like, think about, like, oh, I was gonna say, think about theme parks. Like, you could have the normal standard pass for yourself, which would be, one movie a week, let's say. And
yeah,
then you could have the premium pass for, like, let's say the solo pass was like, I don't know, 16.99 a month or whatever. That seems
yeah,
comparable. That seems like a really good deal. Then you move to the
yeah,
premium one where maybe it's like, okay, well, this is like the gold pass. Like, it could get you and a friend in with your membership type of thing. And then maybe you have like a family package where
yeah,
it's like you pay a certain amount for your family of five, but it's discounted because you're getting so many, and you get this much kickback. Maybe they give you like you get like a free popcorn, or like that kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I haven't like really like thought about it too in depth just because this was literally just something I was thinking about like as we were speaking about it here. But yeah, I mean, I think well because remember when they did that thing where when they started putting more restrictions on your movie pass, like saying like,
Yeah,
okay, new movies you cannot see them week 1 with your movie pass here. You have
right.
to you have to like
You have to
wait a
wait,
certain amount of time or whatever here. And
and
I
then it would like
remember
black out once you saw it, and you couldn't see it again.
right, and I remember you were trying to do that for I think it was Infinity War, I want to say, and and like
Maybe.
and they said they told you no, and I'm just like, ooh, yeah, I think I think they're done basically at that point here. But
I
anyway,
think I legitimately canceled it while we were in the theater watching it. Like, I
yeah,
was like, "I'm canceling this right now,"
yeah,
because I was
yeah.
so mad.
I mean, I
Yeah,
would be.
anyway, yeah. Ace Ventura 3 is in the works. So Jim Carrey is coming back. He was just in Sonic. He's gonna be in Sonic 2 probably. Now he's got Ace Ventura 3. He's kinda making his own resurrection, happen, and it's gonna be on Amazon Prime, similar to Coming to America 2, which I still haven't seen. It's on my list, but it's gonna be written by Sonic the Hedgehog's writing team. Surprisingly enough, no other news really at this time. But yeah, I'm excited. I liked the first two Ace Venturas. They're pretty funny as a kid. We'll see what happens with this.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like how about I don't know a couple years back, however long it's been, when Hollywood decided to dust off Keanu for John Wick, and that blew up. I think this is maybe what we're seeing with happen with Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey kind of was quiet for quite a while there. It seemed like, and he came
Yeah,
back for Sonic, um, and just pretty much the rest was history.
and I honestly, this might be a movie me and my watch this weekend, but I liked Sonic a lot. I thought it was really fun. It was good movie for the family. Like, it came out in a time that was like we needed something like this. It was like right before COVID hit.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Jim Carrey. I'm glad he's getting another shot. The
Yeah.
next two topics we're going to talk about are spoiler kind of warnings for the Snyder Cut. But we
Yeah.
just wanted to talk. It's kind of separate from the Snyder Cut in and of itself, and then actually delves into like cuts the Snyder Cut actually made, which to me is an oxymoron. But
Correct.
let's dive into it. So for like the next 5 minutes, you might want to skip ahead a little. We're going to be talking about the Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is what it's called at the end of the movie, uh, in a little bit. So Snyder Cut makes cuts. The Joker in jail scene. So we got like this picture a while back of the Joker being in jail. Okay. Sorry, Jared Leto,
Mhm.
but that did not show up in the movie at all. Which that was a whole new scene that they were working
Yeah.
on. And so every time they showed the
Mhm.
jail, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get the Joker." Like when we'll talk about it later, but there's like this little, well, it's in the normal movie, the jailbreak when Lex Luthor gets
It's
out
in
and
the
all that.
theatrocal.
Yeah, it's in the theatrical release.
Yeah, in the
I
theatrical
thought
version.
that's
Yeah.
when they were gonna like pan to a different cell and show Joker about to leave, and then go to Lex Luthor's cell because they were in Arkham technically. Um, so yeah, and then spoiler. Martian Manhunter at the end of the movie of the Snyder Cut was supposed to be two Green Lanterns, and not ones we really that are like mainstream lanterns. It wasn't John. It wasn't John Stewart. It wasn't Hal Jordan. It wasn't Kyle Rayner. It was Kilowog, and I can't remember the second one the article said, but I know Kilowog enough from some animated series they did, like Justice League Unlimited and all that.
Right.
But um, and so it's interesting that they brought Leto back and they cut one of his big scenes. Now there's still a pretty big scene in the movie, but there's only one with him in it, and so I kept thinking the whole movie that he wasn't actually going to show up. That they just cut both of his scenes in it because I was like, when is this going to take place? What is happening here? So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm going to abstain from talking about this as much as I can because I'm going to talk about it in full detail in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, first off, like, never apologize to Jared Leto. Worst Joker, period. I mean, the less we get of him, the better. I mean, we'll go over that.
Wow.
Uh, yeah. I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think he's the best Joker by any means.
no, 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 no. But, yeah, I
That still
mean,
belongs to our boy Heath Ledger.
oh, absolutely freaking lootly. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just gonna save this conversation for when we talk about the Snyder Cut because I even have
Okay.
thoughts about Martian Manhunter on that.
Okay. So Zack Snyder's Justice League 3 ends because some kind of speculation was there's this idea for a future Justice League movie where it's gonna be set in the future where Batman's dead. So think of like the
Well,
nightmare sequence, maybe. I don't
right.
know.
Well,
And then
I think not to cut you off there, but I think from what I read that's how it was going to end here was it was going to be like Justice League 3 was going to end with like a time jump. It was going to be kind of like, the epilogue of the movie where basically, all this stuff
we see
happens. But
what everything happened. Yeah.
right,
Yeah, and
yeah.
so basically, Batman's dead at this point, and Superman's kid, who doesn't have powers, his name's Bruce Kent, is Batman. The bigger question is, will this come to fruition with the release of the Snyder Cut? And we can talk about that later. Um,
Yeah, I will comment on this though here just because it's not actually part of the Snyder Cut here.
yeah.
This is freaking stupid here. Like, why would you have Superman's kid of all people take up the mantle of
Why not
Batman? That
Damian Wayne? Yeah, bring
correct.
in Damian
Or
Wayne,
Dick
or yeah,
Grayson or anybody else
yeah.
that like
Well, he's dead.
I mean, let's get J.K. Simmons at this point here, Why not? Let's get that Gordon
Yeah,
Batman here. Freaking Robobat or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I
Put him in
mean,
the yeah, put him in the bat suit, the big robo suit.
oh gosh. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you might as
Well,
well just
speaking
do
of
that at that point.
others, yeah, seriously. So Falcon Winter Soldier season 2 could happen. Now we just got the first episode of season 1, which we're going to talk about right after this.
Mhm.
So Kevin Feige came out and said that Falcon Winter Soldier season 2 isn't in the works, but they're kind of messing around with some ideas. He continued to say that this season as one story that's its own arc, and they go back and forth on what they're doing more seasons. And then Kevin Feige also denied that Chris Evans is coming back. I mean, I think this is the only way that they're getting their own stories to be told. What about you? I don't see them getting their own movies or anything.
So I tend to agree with you for the most part. I mean, well, here's the thing. I figured the whole reason why we were getting these Marvel shows as opposed to movies was because the fact that they wanted to push the streaming platform. They wanted to make more money off of us long term. So if they're just going to do like a one and done, sorry, excuse me. Sorry. As I was saying, if they were just going to do a one and done type situation where they're like, okay, yeah, we did it, we're fine, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, so roughly what we spent was like, if I was just buying Disney Plus just for Falcon Winter Soldier, uh, which is roughly like what, like probably going to span like the course of like 2 months. So that's $14, right?
Yeah,
That's a movie ticket, and it's also a movie ticket that I can like have all my friends and family come over and watch as much as they want here.
right.
Versus like, having everybody go to the theater, you have to pay that price, like that price for every single person here. So I would be really surprised if that's like what they decide to go with here. If they really just say, okay, yeah, the buck ends here. We're not going any further. I don't get it. if that's really what they're going to do. I mean, I'm kind of surprised by this news, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I just think it's this. They're just basically not denying that they might make one. I don't think they will personally, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
All right, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna head into our roundtable review here. We're done with our nerd news and all that, but this is gonna be strap in because we're talking about Falcon Winter Soldier, Snyder Cut. I haven't heard Dorian's thoughts. I don't know if he's read over mine or not, but it might get interesting. Just letting you know. Might have two polarizing opinions. Might be on the same page. So we'll see.
All right. So first off, let's start off with Falcon and Winter Soldier. So episode 1. So
spoilers ahead.
Yeah, some brief spoilers ahead. I don't think we're going to be talking about this too in depth. I think
no, we're saving that for the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, we're going pretty light on this just because there wasn't like a ton of stuff to really talk about, like in terms of like major developments. But just a few things. So this show does take place after like a few months after Endgame. I think 6 months exactly from what I've heard.
It's 6 months. Yeah,
I think so. And it shows us what Sam and Bucky are doing. After the events of Endgame here, and like Sam is doing his thing. He's working, I think, with the U.S. military,
with the Air Force.
Air Force doing covert type missions, or kind of like
he's bending the rules. Yeah,
he's basically the guy that you go to who says like, hey, we can't officially get involved here, so we're sending you basically here. So you get like a pretty dope action scene with him on like essentially a rescue mission for the most part. And then you also see Bucky and kind of him what it looks like for him to like try to adapt to civilian life for the most part. Like, and he's meeting with like essentially a shrink, discussing like his PTSD, all that stuff, and he's got his own way of like kind of doing like his day-to-day therapy stuff here. Like he's got like these 3 rules that he's got to follow. And he's kind of doing his own version of that, which is kind of funny, kind of interesting, and cool, because he's essentially what he's doing is he's trying to right the wrongs that he did as Winter Soldier here. And but all in all, I mean, this is mostly a setup episode here. This is just getting the ball rolling, and it has some Winter Soldier-esque vibes to it. That spy thriller type deal that we got from like obviously Winter Soldier, but a little bit of that in like Civil War and whatnot. But definitely interested to see more. I think this is a good, solid episode. What do you think?
Yeah, solid opening episode. Really like the action we got off the bat. The flashbacks with Winter Soldier. Sam being the Falcon. The introduction of the Flag Smashers and kind of this kind of micro terrorist group that is purely built out of people wanting the world to go back to how it was before the blip. I think that's a really interesting concept, because it sounds like the world was more united when the blip happened, because they had to be, because there wasn't very many people around, and they wanted to help people, and so people are thinking that life was better during the blip for those of who stayed around. So and then other people disagree. So there's like this whole political side of it, which I think is going to be fantastic. So I'm excited to see what happens further, but we got the stuff coming up.
The moment y'all been waiting for. So
it's when we finally get to stop talking
about Snyder Cut.
Yeah, we'll finally get to stop talking about it. Maybe we'll see. Unless a sequel comes out.
I mean,
probably not.
Probably not. I mean, at this rate, because I mean, I feel like by and large the reception to this movie has been positive, and I think also just the fact that we're probably we might very well get like 2 separate timeline DCEUs here. One that has like the Zack Snyder vision, and then one with like the everything that happens after that here.
Right.
So You can go first because
Okay. Do you want me just to do like my little intro of like how I felt overall about the movie, and then you could talk about how you felt overall, and then we could talk about specifics,
you just do
or
your whole
just
spiel first,
okay.
sir. I'll come in after.
Okay. So and you could chime in too, Dorian, if you want to, and then I'll
Sure.
I'll chime in with you too if you bring up something that I'm like, oh, that's a good. I forgot about that. Because here's what
Okay.
I did. I just watched the 4 hours. So I got really my wife and son were really sick the last couple of days. They're better now,
Oh
but
no.
we had like the stomach bug going around. So I got to watch it in one fell swoop. I sat down, I watched the whole thing. I just busted it out, which you can't watch a 4 hour movie with a 3 month old. It doesn't work. So
No.
he was sleeping, or he'd be in my arms or whatever, and just chilling. And then my wife was sleeping as well. But anyway, okay. Honestly, I wanted to hate this movie. I wanted it to be bad. I wanted it to fail. I wanted so many negative things for it. I wanted to hate it, but I didn't. I did not hate this movie. I thought it was a really solid endeavor. Congratulations, Zack Snyder. You did something that was actually decent. Um, I can say with full confidence, if this was the Justice League movie we got 4 years ago, we would be neck deep in DCEU movies, in my opinion. And I can honestly still see this happening. What's up?
So I'm gonna refute that a little bit. Nobody's gonna go see a 4 hour long movie in the movie theater, especially coming off the heels of Batman
No,
v
no.
Superman and Suicide Squad.
No, I know that. I'm just saying if we got this, if this could have been a two-part movie, it could have been for sure. The way that stuff was set up, this could have been a two-part movie. One comes up early in the year, one comes up late in the year. They could have. He definitely had some liberties with. I could do as long a movie as I want, and so I think
Yeah.
that yeah, it wouldn't have worked as a 2.5 hour movie. It would have had minimum be three and a half for it to get all the exposition it did in and all that stuff. But I believe that if we got some kind of two-part movie, basically, we would have had a full-on DCEU by now. Here are the kind of just I didn't go into super specifics on like specific like plot details or what happened, because you guys should watch that for yourself. We could talk about it a little bit later if Dorian wants to, but I'm just going to talk about really what I enjoyed. The plot made sense. That's the biggest thing in this movie. I think that didn't happen in the first Justice League movie. It was so cut up and the
No.
pacing was so bad that it just didn't make any sense. Now that you have we zoom back a little bit and we see the full picture, I think that Zack Snyder had a good thing going, at least. Like Joss Whedon definitely came in and making decisions and kind of butchered it. But I think that he had a good vision for where he wanted to go, and it was clear. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm just going to throw this together. Like he had, I think it was 97% of the footage they used, maybe more of the Snyder Cut was already filmed. It was just old footage that they just retooled together, basically. Good writing, in my opinion. It wasn't cheesy. There weren't cheesy lines like they were in Justice League. Aquaman being the biggest benefactor, I think. He wasn't like a
Like
water biker. Like it wasn't. He didn't have like cheesy lines like he did in Justice League. So I think just in a general sense,
is there specific lines of
I so
that
uh,
Aquaman was saying that
yeah, there was a couple in Justice League. The one I remember most, and I was waiting for him to say in this movie, and he didn't. He was like, is when he jumps on one of the parademons in that big fight scene, and I think he says like, "Ride him," something like, or I can't remember what he says. It's
really?
something really cheesy, and he didn't say it in this movie. And I was like, thank you. But good writing. The character's way more fleshed out. Way more fleshed out. Love what they did with Cyborg. He actually had a story, and he was a big focal point of the Justice League movie in and of itself. Aquaman was more fleshed out, and especially Batman. Now, Batman's tone in general, I think, changed completely from the Justice League movie before. This is a whole different Batman that we got, and Bruce Wayne, really, than we did in the previous Justice League movie. He was way more hopeful. He was like the leader of the group. You could definitely tell he's the one that recruited the Justice League. he wasn't a pansy when he was fighting. He actually did stuff, which I think is a big upgrade from the first movie because he didn't do anything in that movie. Cyborg, his backstory is a pretty big piece, like I said. Basically, everyone has higher stakes in this movie. There's something everyone kind of has to do. And I think that, like I said, the biggest people that benefited Cyborg, Aquaman, and Flash. Flash even has a huge scene in this movie that he has to do something he hasn't really done before. Going back in time, basically, like a little bit, and so he had no
Yeah.
stakes like that in the first movie, and neither did really any of the like most of them. And so I just think it was so much better done. The basic fight scenes were amped up. Like if you take that Wonder Woman scene in the bank, like I
Yeah.
remember watching it and going like, this did not happen in the movie. In the normal movie, it was like less than a minute long. And in this movie, I think it was like 2 minutes long. It was very much more fleshed out in the fighting. So was the battle of like the old gods battle from when Darkseid and Steppenwolf first came to Earth. I thought that was cool too, that they tied in
Yeah.
Darkseid a lot more. But when he first came, and you got to see way more fighting, way more setup. Everything there was just more of, which I actually liked. And so the Justice League felt more of it like a team. They were fighting together. Like there's cool combo moves like Aquaman and Cyborg when they were fighting against Steppenwolf. People were helping each other out. It was in my opinion just a better team movie. Like there's better team elements of it. I think the action was better, cinematography was better. We didn't have these weird colors. Like you remember, like the last scene, it was like there was like this red tint to
Yeah,
everything.
where it's like
That's
all
not in
red. Yeah.
that's
Yep.
not in the movie. It's got the same kind of feel throughout the whole movie. That darkness, that grittiness. Their colors are muted. Like it's like that the whole movie, which I think is a positive. In my opinion, everything was better in this movie. For being 4 hours long, it didn't really feel like 4 hours to me. It was well paced, with maybe the exception of the beginning. The beginning was a little bit slow. I like the addition of Martian Manhunter in it, and the Atom Easter egg that we get. Um, and I really dig the black suited Superman. There's no bad upper lip CGI on Henry Cavill. The
Henry
acting, I
Cavill.
think, whatever. Yeah. The acting, I think Zack shows the right takes for this movie versus the other cut of the movie, and Ray Fisher can actually act.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean he definitely got his moment to shine in this version of the movie for sure. Yeah.
yeah, I would say overall it's a pretty solid movie. Not perfect, but man, I think Zack kind of puts Joss Whedon's cut to shame, in my opinion. But
I mean, yeah, I mean, no, I get that. I mean, and definitely when I was watching this movie, it definitely seemed like, and I even like went back and watched some scenes from Joss Whedon's theatrical cut from 2017 and whatnot, just to kind of get a little bit of an idea of like, okay, what is actually different in this here? Just because a lot of this movie that a lot of this movie you do see in the theatrical cut of Justice League here, like I would say like
yeah, it's just
80%
not
of
fleshed
eh,
out. It's
right, 80% of this movie I would say you see in the theatrical cut. But
well,
yeah,
probably more like 50%, considering it's only 2 hours long.
right, but I'm saying like 80% of like the theatrical
Oh,
part of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, did you have any more thoughts on it or anything you wanted to add at this point?
Um, I I thought the nightmare sequence was interesting. I don't know if I liked it a lot. At the
Mm,
very end of the movie, there's a nightmare sequence where you get to see more of Bruce is having a dream, essentially a nightmare. Da-doom-tsh.
yeah.
And it's set in a post-apocalyptic, like Darkseid has infiltrated Earth,
Oh,
and
not
they're going
infiltrated,
after.
taking over.
Yeah, he's taken over. What's the? I can never remember the name of the equation they're after. What's the
Oh, the anti-life equation.
anti-life equation? Yeah. I'm sure you got that, and so it's basically Batman teaming up with Deathstroke, Mira because Aquaman's dead, Flash, um, Cyborg's still alive, and then Deathstroke and Joker.
Yeah.
So that scene
Yeah.
was okay. I think I liked when Batman's like, "I'm gonna kill you after this." Basically, like, I'm so done with you. Like, him and Joker go back and forth, which I think is really cute.
It's cute.
Uh, yeah, I think that scene was cool, and it definitely would have set up something in the future. Um, Manhunter coming and being like, "I want to help now." I thought was weird. I'm like, why didn't you just help earlier? Like, because basically Manhunter shows up and he is Martha. He's Martha Kent. Uh, he shapeshifts and has a conversation with Lois Lane,
Lewis.
and I thought it was cool that they added him in, but I was like, that wasn't really necessary. And then at the end, he's like, I want to join you guys. I've seen this happen, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad we got to see him. That's about all I am glad for when it comes to that character. I think it would have been way cooler to have the Green Lanterns in there like they did originally, but, it is what it is. Probably with the new Green Lantern series coming out, they're like, let's not put them in there because they don't know what they're going to look like yet.
Yeah.
They should have had Ryan Reynolds show up, personally.
Oh, he's too
So
busy making fun of himself playing Green Lantern and Deadpool and all that
yeah, that's
stuff
true.
here.
No, if
Yeah.
something else pops up, I'll let you know. But I think
Uh,
overall, we'll talk about overall thoughts after you're done. I think, but yeah,
okay.
I think you guys get a good picture of what I think and how I feel
Yeah.
about the movie. So
All right, my turn. So, I'll start off with what I liked. So, Steppenwolf looks cooler and is definitely a lot more fleshed out. You get more motivation for
yeah,
Steppenwolf. I mean, the CGI on him, like in terms of like his armor, it's a little too shiny for my taste. It's a little distracting. Like it looks like there's like some parademons in the that you see off camera shining a bright light on his armor like 24/7. It's like I'm like, dude, it's like dark like in here. Why is there still like light shining on your armor here and all that business? But um Black Suit Superman, he's a baller. Like, dang. Like
yeah,
I will say, like, yeah, they definitely made Superman cool in this movie. At least like for like the last 5 minutes here. So Cyborg's
yeah,
character development, it was much needed in the first Justice League movie, and you actually got that uh fleshing him out, kind of like going over the relationship with his dad, like who he was before he became Cyborg, all that stuff that I'm really
yeah,
surprised got cut from the original, just because I feel like that would have been like a no-brainer to put in there here for the most part.
yeah. I'll add on that real quick because for those of you who forgot, this is the first time in the theatrical movies we see Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. It's the first
Right.
time we see them. So why wouldn't we have backstory? But yeah, go ahead.
I On that note, I do feel like Flash, having being a little bit more fleshed out, not much per se, but a little bit more
No.
fleshed out in this movie, I think definitely helps some things out for the most part. And speaking of Flash, his time travel move that he does at the very end, I thought it was like one of those things where I'm like, again, why would you cut this? This is actually good. Like, why would you cut this from the
Yeah.
movie? Um, and action scenes by and large are better. Like you said, they are more amped up. There's not like a night and day difference, I will say, per se, because I mean, a lot of like they're more
No,
like
it's just
extended or added
pl-
on,
filled
just
out. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
And we got that dark side cameo. I mean, essentially in this movie, he's kind of like, I would say he's like the equivalent of like what we got of Thanos in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, if you recall. Like, he's like talking to Ronan. He's
Yeah.
he kind of comes up every now and again. That's basically kind of what Dark Side uh is in this movie. He's just kind of way in the distance here, but he is, you know what they allude to as the big bad here. So
Yeah.
going over
He
what I
looks
didn't,
cool too.
he does. I mean, like his eyes, I feel like should be like maybe a little more red or a little more glowing per se. At least like in that flashback sequence when he's first going to Earth and all that. But I digress.
Mhm.
Um, so going over what I didn't like here. So there is an overabundance of so CGI, uh, like so much slow mo in this movie, like almost an unnecessary amount here, and tons of green screen. Which I mean, that's Zack Snyder's shtick. Like if you like that, great. I mean, I'm over it, to be honest with you, in terms of like just uh basically just pouring that stuff on all over the place. I mean, the design for Cyborg, I still don't like it. Like it still just looks weird and just doesn't
Yeah,
look
it's
like how Cyborg should look, in my opinion.
right.
Um, so Martian Manhunter was literally thrown in there for like no good reason. Like why would Martian Manhunter of
It was
all
just to show
people?
him.
Right, exactly. But I mean, it's like that's all it was. But like, why would he go have like a pep talk with Lois disguised as Martha Kent? Why would he show up to Batman's place like right after it saying, "Hey, good job. I saw the whole thing. I could have helped, but I didn't," you know?
Yeah,
I'm
I thought that was weird.
it's really poor writing on that front. I mean, like, I understand like
They were just
uh
trying to get him in. It had nothing to do with the plot or anything.
well, I mean, here's the thing is like I mean, like, you look at like Wonder Woman's introduction into like Batman v Superman. Like that was actually like okay, they established the character, they got her in, and they actually gave her, like gave us like a moment of her doing what we wanted to see her doing here. We didn't get that with Martian Manhunter. He
Yeah.
was just literally thrown in there to say, "Hey, look at me. I'm going to be in the next movie." So, that's basically what that was here. And I was just like, that's just
Yeah.
lazy writing on that front. Um but most of the
Well, I mean,
problems,
that's probably why it was cut originally.
yeah. But I mean, like, problems from the theatrical or the original version of this movie are still there. Jesse Eisenberg is not recast, which is like which you know I know you
He's
haven't
only in
watched,
it at the very end, though.
right, but I mean, like, I'm still mad that supposedly Zack Snyder passed on Bryan Cranston as Lex Luthor
I know,
in
that's
favor. Like, I know you don't watch Breaking Bad, but if you watch
yeah,
Breaking
that's
Bad,
a no.
like that's
No, I
basically
seen him in
like
Power Rangers.
right, but if you ever get around to watch Breaking Bad, you'd be like, oh my gosh, he would have made an amazing Lex Luthor here. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
I still don't like the idea of Bruce putting the team together. Now here's the thing. Zack Snyder, like this version of Batman, he already bastardized it for me. So I mean, it was like there's really not much more damage that could be done per se. That being said, it's like it's very like unlike Batman by and large in terms of like the general sense to be the guy to put the team together. He's more of the loner here. Usually he's the one that needs the convincing here historically. Um and I mean,
Yeah, and I think he would've if he wasn't having those visions and those dreams and stuff. I don't think he would've. I think that they had to do something in the plot to get him to a place where he would.
which more on that in a second here, but and I mean, I'm still not 100% down with the casting like, of some. I mean, I've like the only person that I felt like was cast like really well was Henry Cavill as Superman, to be honest with you. I feel like Ben Affleck is still kind of like, you know, I mean, he's not my Batman. He's just not. He just doesn't do it for me. I still think Gal Gadot, even though she's good, I think, you I don't think she completely nails Wonder Woman for me either. Same with Aquaman, or I think Jason Momoa would have been better suited as like Lobo because he looks like him and he's also got the biker mentality and all that. So it's like, I don't know. And then Barry Allen is still, I don't know. I mean, Barry Allen is like just a little too oddball for my taste, to be honest. I feel like they were just like, okay, yeah, we really need to distinguish ourselves from, the traditional Barry Allen that's on TV right now here with the Flash show. We need to make him more oddball or whatever here. And then let's get to the whole nightmare sequence of it all here. So Zack Snyder is still hanging on to that whole like Mad Max version that he had or vision that he has for the DC universe here. Like he is really trying to push that whole thing.
It doubles down.
Oh, big time. Yeah. So, which here's the thing. I mean, I think it's interesting and I feel like I would not be completely opposed to it, but the problem is like he's trying to have like, you know, the heroes that we know and love in like their like, original element, but he's also trying to like do this Elseworld story at the same time, which I'm like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, You have to like like if you just went from like a straight up post-apocalyptic version of the DC universe from the get-go, I'd be 10 times more interested in seeing that. I mean, it might not do super well like at the box office in general, but I'd be super into that, to be honest with you.
Right.
So we got to talk about Jared Leto doing his best Jim Carrey impersonation because like I was like I
I yeah.
like when I was watching that, I turned because I watched it alone. And I was like turning my head to like nobody sitting next to me. Like if the like just wanted to tell somebody like, gosh, he is the worst. Just like that stupid laugh and just everything about him
I
is
know.
just like
I hate the laugh.
it's
Yeah.
so bad. It's just
It
like
was yeah.
it's just so bad.
There's a reason he's not the Joker anymore. I mean,
Yes.
I don't hate him because I think part of it was like, man, it was just the idea of the Joker that was put into his head was just so far gone already. Like, and even them taking the tattoos away and he's got scarring and all this, that, and the other thing. I think I like the
Yeah.
makeup more than anything better. Like the acting, it was such a short little glimpse we got too.
Yeah.
Where it's alluding to there's only been one Robin and he's the one that killed him.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like either I wasn't paying attention that much because it was the end of it was late but telling her or Joker when Harley died in my arms, she said for me to kill you. That was the last thing she told me to do.
Kill you slowly here.
Yeah, and I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, she okay. And he
Yeah.
basically, and then Batman throws an F-bomb and says, I'm gonna effing kill you,
I'm
basically,
gonna
by the end of
effing
this.
kill you. Yeah.
Yeah, by the end of this, and it's like
When this
I
is
want to see
all
that.
said
I
and
want to see
done here.
him.
Yeah.
I want to see him kill Joker. But
Which I mean, like, which still begs the question, like, okay, why is Joker still alive after all of this? If like you were totally down with like killing in the first place, like before all this went, but I mean, Zack Snyder's not that
manslaughtering
smart, so
people.
yeah, man, yeah. Why didn't he manslaughter Joker here? That's the question, but um, but
Yeah. I'm not. I thought it was interesting, like the concept of the Nightmare Team, but yeah, I don't know.
yeah, and and obviously, like with Deathstroke, they were definitely setting up for like Ben Affleck's like
Movie.
standalone movie that that never came to be. Which I mean, hey, it is what it
Maybe it will
is.
though.
Oh gosh, yeah, maybe or maybe like Snyder Cut Volume 2 will have will like address that
Yeah.
whole business. But
Well, and see
real,
with I understand what you're saying with not liking Batman in this, but I think Ben Affleck's acting is actually really really good in this movie.
I
Like, and
think
he's a great Bruce Wayne.
I think given like the material that he's working with, I don't think like it's just him like botching it per se. I think he's delivering the material and like doing the job that he is just set out to do. I just don't prefer the writing for it here per se.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah. But
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
speaking on, Batman in general, why is Bruce the one having these premonitions here? Like it legitimately, like when you think about it, makes no sense. Like I could understand like if it was somebody like Barry Allen who had like a whole bunch of time travel stuff, or even like Cyborg, when he's like plugging into the mother box, he had all those visions and stuff like that. Like, okay, I guess you could make an argument, but there's literally like no explanation or no reason why, it's Bruce, just this normal dude that doesn't have like any like time travel connection or like special powers or even like any mystical connection like like Wonder Woman has or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Yeah.
Bruce and
I think the reason we got that was the reason why he is the way he is in this movie versus BVS, because uh, he had to have some kind of something happen to him in order for him to put the team together, because he wasn't gonna.
yeah,
That's Superman's role. That's what he
right,
does. But Superman was dead, so I think Bruce, like with the death of Superman, was like, okay, I got to do something about this. Then if the guy is not here anymore.
right,
So I think that's the only reason why we got Batman in the light that we did, and I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. I think it served the movie well,
yeah,
but we definitely, it would have been cool. It would be
yeah,
cool to get a solo Batman movie in this universe where we get to see Batman be Batman and nothing more. Not have to take on the role
yeah,
that he didn't want to. He probably did, he didn't. I don't think he didn't want to take on that role. He just knew that the world was gonna get destroyed if he didn't, basically. So he had to kind of
yeah,
have a different outlook on it. But I,
yeah, I
I, I
mean,
totally agree with what you're saying. With it should have been Cyborg. He makes the most sense. Um, or
right,
Barry Allen.
Cyborg or Barry Allen, I mean, or even like Diana, just because it's just like it's, I mean, I could even buy that here, but I mean, I understand, yeah, like that they wanted to, work that in as like a character motivation. But I mean, I just disagree with the idea of him like putting the team together in general. And you're gonna tell me that, he's got like, dreams that can see into the future and all that. I mean, kind of defeats a little the purpose of Batman just being just an ordinary guy here. So
Well,
I just think the whole
yeah,
concept of it is stupid.
I'm wondering if there was some. I wonder if there was something else playing into there, like maybe there was some kind of something in the background that gave him the premonition, or like Doctor Fate or something like that, where like um, who could tamper with that stuff. And Doctor Fate kind of makes the most sense in my opinion, but I don't know.
Right. I mean, no, I mean, like, yeah, they could, but I mean, even still, it's like, I don't know. I just feel, I just feel like this was just more or less like written in there just because Zack Snyder wanted Bruce Wayne to put together the Justice League, because that's like one of the things that he said when he killed off Superman was like for the after like Batman v Superman, he's like, yeah, I want Bruce Wayne to be the guy to put the team together here. And I'm just like that's one of the main reasons why he killed off Superman. I'm like, okay, that's a stupid reason, but
That's weird. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
all right, and then I just have like
The only thing that was missing from Black Suit Superman was the mullet, but yeah.
yeah, this ain't the 90s or the 80s or
Yeah.
whenever that was considered
I think Death of
acceptable.
Superman was in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
So and then I got like another section here called the neutral zone, which is just basically like thoughts that I had while watching this movie. So, for starters, who keeps a mother box or a piece of alien technology just in their closet? Just that, because that's what
Cyborg.
Cyborg and his dad did. You're like, oh yeah, like this piece of alien technology, yeah, it's just missing from the lab, like, but it's been missing for a while, so no big deal. It's not like a national security issue or anything like that, and we're just gonna just put it in our closet. It's fine. Um, And
Yeah, I guess if I was a superhero though, and I just lived in a house, like if I was Cyborg, I'd probably just keep it with me too.
I mean,
Like, come and get it.
yeah, I mean, I, I mean, it's, I don't know. I just, I understand like
What
they
else you
were,
got? What else you got?
nah, yeah, yeah. So for all the talk about Darkseid being like a big bad, he kind of got taken out. It seemed like easily, like in the flashback scene
By
he-
Ares.
by
Yeah.
Ares, which,
By literal gods though.
but you also
Like
got to
it's
fit.
okay that I forgot about that. I forgot about that. Hang on. So we actually get clarification on who the guy wielding lightning is, and then I don't even know, was Ares in the original cut? I don't know if he was he?
I don't know if he was. I mean, obviously he was in the first Wonder Woman movie. He was the final boss of that.
Yeah, so we got Ares and Zeus. That was
Yeah,
Zeus, the guy that we thought it might have been. I think in my head I was like, oh, that's probably
like
Captain Marvel,
Shazam or
aka
something like
Shazam.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, but it was it was literally Zeus. So I was like,
yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Just like Ares, like was like essentially kind of one shot at him for the most part. It seemed like, whereas like Wonder Woman, who was able to kill Ares, can like barely hold her own against Stephen Wolf by herself here, type of
I
thing.
know. Yeah, that was kind of weird,
And then
but
why is Lois Lane always in the right place at the right time in like these Zack Snyder movies? Like she's like legitimately like showing up like everywhere where she needs to be, like just super convenient. Like in Batman v Superman, she stops Batman from stabbing Superman like at the very last second. That's when you get the whole Martha thing here and all that business here. So it's
right.
like, and even like Man of Steel, like I thought like, okay, yeah, she's showing up a whole lot in like these places where it's just like it'd be very inconvenient for her to actually show up here. But and then
Yeah.
Batman I guess is looking uh has Wonder Woman's bracers right now that basically protect and defend him and others here. So
Yeah, the alien tech.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Aquaman, I know you said that you felt like he got fleshed out more. I really did not feel that way. I mean,
Yeah.
because I mean, like his motivations are like I feel like really just wonky for this movie. Now, after like having like an Aquaman movie that kind of shows who this character is and what he's about. I mean, obviously it fills in a lot of the gaps in this movie, but like him going
Well, yeah, and it was always planned for him to have a movie after this. So
right,
I don't see this as I see this as Cyborg's origin story. I don't see it as anyone else's.
right,
Um, and so I just like what they did with the character more. They made him more of basically a brooding alcoholic. Uh, and so someone who's rejecting his birthright, his calling to rule Atlantis.
sure.
I just like I like the lines they chose for Aquaman better. I think he is more fleshed out heading into the Aquaman movie. You have to keep that in mind, I guess.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's like I mean, I don't know whose fault it is on this one, but there's definitely some retconning that goes on like with this and like the Aquaman movie, because they have to like create those like air pockets in order for them to talk. They didn't have to do that at all in the movie and anything like that, which is weird. And then I don't know. I mean my issue with is like you have that scene with Willem Dafoe, as Aquaman's mentor that
Yeah,
finds Aquaman, gives him the trident, gives him the armor, and basically says like, it's time for you to like start being who you are here, basically. And ultimately, what ends up happening is, he comes back to Atlantis to stop Stephen Wolf, or try to stop Stephen Wolf from taking the mother box, and Mira's talking with him saying like, you need to be a ruler. He's like, nah, I'm not doing that. It's like, well, then why did you show up here? It's like, so you just decided to show up just to stop this monster that is trying to steal a box that you have no idea what it is or who this monster is or even like what the deal is. But you're like, I mean, like, if yeah, I just thought I just thought that was just like poor writing on that part here. I mean, granted, like
I
that
think
that
I
whole
no,
that whole thing gets
I
fleshed
th-
out
I think
like in this movie,
well,
but
yeah, but I don't think it was poor writing. I think it was, uh, you know, you see from the get go like he wants to do good. He's
sure,
just having a hard time with he
the
doesn't want to be
responsibility
responsible for that
factor.
for right. And so if someone comes to him saying the world's going to end, it's like okay. It took a while for him to get to a place where he was like, all right, fine, I'll help because I can. But I don't see him as like being around. I mean, you see him leave at the end of it, like, he's just kind of doing his own thing. So I
Right.
get why he would show up to help and then be like, all right, I'm gonna go do my own thing now. I helped save the world. I'm gonna go back to just doing what I do.
Well, no,
I
I'm
don't
not.
think
I'm
there's
not
anything wrong
talking
with
about
that.
like that. No, I'm not talking about like that part specifically. Like, I'm just talking about like why did he even like show up in Atlantis in the first place to stop Steppenwolf if like he literally like if he literally like said like, okay, I don't I don't give a riff about Atlantis or any of this here and blah blah blah. I mean, because like that whole conversation that he had with I forget what Willem Dafoe's character name is, but
I
like
don't
it was
know.
it was
Yeah.
all about him, like saying like, hey, your half brother is he's not the right guy to rule. You are. You need to take up your responsibility as the king of Atlantis here, and he shows up just to stop Steppenwolf, which I mean, like, what? Like, I don't know, man. I just felt like that was like the one part of like Aquaman's story arc in this movie that was just really wonky here. So, um,
Right.
but and I guess Zack Snyder forgot that the Justice League in the comics has a no killing policy, but we're way past that at this point here.
Well, I think the parademons are way different.
No,
Like
parademons
they're
are
basically
fake
like
are fair game. I mean, because they're not,
yeah.
but like freaking Wonder Woman just straight up
Oh,
murder
when
those
Wonder Woman killed that one dude, yeah,
oh, she kills like
bank
all those
robbers.
dudes.
That one
Like,
is especially.
yeah, but even
I didn't mind that
even
because
like
Wonder Woman
Stephen,
and Superman have even killed in the comics.
they have, but I mean, like, traditionally, like, you have, like, they're the
It's not a
more,
traditional movie, man.
no, you got that right. So but I mean, like, yeah, obviously Zack Snyder, like, he's Stevie Wonder when it comes to like that whole no killing aspect of like the DC heroes and all that. So I mean, at this point, it's like, if that really really bothers you, then it's like, I don't know what to tell you, because I mean, that's just the route he's
Right.
gone with here. But
It is what it
um,
is. I said
it
what I
is what
said.
it
Yeah.
is. I don't know. So overall feelings, do you want to go first?
Sure. Actually, no. You go first. I'll go last.
Okay,
I want to
all
hear what you have
right.
to say.
So overall, this is the better version of Justice League. I mean, this doesn't like suddenly just make this the most amazing superhero movie, or even like I wouldn't
No.
even
Yeah.
like I would say on its best day, this is decent. Like I feel like decent is probably like the best way to describe this movie here. I mean, and this is I mean, roughly 80% of the theatrical cut is unchanged in this movie. So this is kind of making this movie more of a extended edition as opposed to like a completely new movie, as like,
Yes.
you know,
100%.
kind of like how it was almost kind of hyped up to be almost here. Um but I would say like the best way I could describe this movie is essentially like this is like your car getting totaled and the mechanic fixes it to make it drivable, but it's still in rough shape, you know. Um this doesn't like, fix all the damage that, BVS and Suicide Squad did to the DCEU. I mean, the best thing about this movie, it does flesh out the character arcs more and like gives more detail to like plot lines that were sorely lacking in the theatrical release. Which here's the thing, it's pretty easy to do when you have double the runtime for most movies here.
Yeah,
Um, I
yeah.
mean, it's a
I'm not
more
refuting
enjoy.
that.
It's a, it's it's a more enjoyable movie. I mean, it's kind of like I don't know. It's it's like a polished turd. It's still a turd, but it's better. I guess that that's. I mean,
I disagree, but yeah,
I will say this. I mean, I definitely enjoyed this more than the theatrical movie. I mean, a lot of my problems, uh, I feel like from this movie pretty much stem from like how this whole universe was set up and like the decisions that were already made. I mean, I think like with what they had to work with, I think they did a pretty good job for the most part. But by and large, I think you know this is essentially like again, you have to realize this is a 4-hour movie. Like this is something that like a lot of these things and a lot of these story beats should have been set
it's
up
a
like
mini series. It's a mini series.
uh,
That's what it is. It's not a movie.
oh, it's a movie. Like it's
Like,
a 4-hour
no,
long
I know,
movie.
but you have to think of it as a mini series. It's even in the movie, it says part 1, part 2, part 3, part
Then
4,
why didn't
epilogue,
it
all that stuff.
then why didn't they just like make it a mini series at
They
that point here? Like,
Well, I mean, they were rumors that they were gonna release it that way, and then I think it was probably executives that said, "No, just release it as a movie."
I don't know, man. I mean, either way, I mean, it's like, I mean, because ultimately, I think of this as a movie, even though, like, technically, this, like, yeah, you commit, like, it is like, it does have like kind of a mini series format to it. But I mean, this was like essentially, I think of it in the idea of like, this was a movie that was at some point, or at least in some way, you know, not necessarily like maybe 4 hours long, but was supposed to be released in theaters in some way, shape, or form here. And
Like,
like
yeah, yeah,
obviously, Zack
it
Snyder,
wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked.
it wouldn't have. And I mean, and I think that's Zack Snyder's problem is like, you know, if you give him the time, he might be able to crank out something decent. But movies aren't 4 hours long. They're like 2 hours long, 2.5 hours long. Sometimes like getting crazy and like pushing the limit at 3 hours here. But
Right.
I mean, that's the thing is like if you're not able to, you know, tell your story within those 2 hours, you gotta do one of two things. You gotta either, you know, you either gotta like make more movies to set up, the story arcs that you wanna do to like get to this point, which gee, why didn't you do that like Marvel did like a long time ago here? But we're past that point now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
For
decent
sure.
movie, not great. I'll leave it at that. I mean, it's like if
If you had to rank it like ratings wise, what would you give it?
that's kind of a tough one. I mean,
It is tough. Yeah.
just because it's like again, a lot of my problems I don't feel like really stem from the
Well, I would
movie.
say this.
Okay,
Yeah, I understand that. So let's just look at the movie for what it is. Enjoyability, all that stuff. Not looking at Zack Snyder, not looking at how
sure.
long it actually is. Like overall enjoyability, all that stuff. What would you rate it? Like,
I would okay, so if let's just put it this way. I would say this is enjoyable movie. I mean, definitely test the limit of like, your setting power for that. I will
yeah,
say that
that's true.
much. Um
Yeah, I moved
th-
around a lot.
this is a more enjoyable version of the DCEU that, you know, we got. I mean, again, it's not perfect. It's not gonna it's not like on the level of like, an Avengers movie or something like that. But I will say this is enjoyable. So if I was just rate it just solely based on, the enjoyability factor, maybe a 7, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
I I
Yeah,
I
I think that's pretty fair. I It is really hard to rate this because it's an, like, amalgamation of many different things. Like I said, it could be a
it is.
miniseries, it could be a two-part movie. It doesn't work as a 2.5 to 3-hour movie, it just doesn't work. We've seen it
No.
already.
We have,
So
yeah.
I think if we look at the Snyder Cut as something different, something, that's not a typical movie, and it is what it is, like, I think I agree with you. I give it like a 7.5 rating. 7.8 was in my head for a while. I'd probably have to like rewatch some of it and rewatch Justice League. My wife hasn't seen this yet. So what we might do is rewatch Justice League, the original cut, and then go and watch Snyder Cut, within the course of a couple days. Um, but
You're gonna get burned out
I know.
on
Uh,
freaking Justice League at that point.
but she hasn't seen it and she wants to watch it. She's like, "Is it worth watching?" I said, "Honestly, yeah." She's like, "I fell asleep in the first Justice League." I was like, "Yeah, then you should watch this because I think it'll change your mind on." And here's another thing we can talk about before we end this. But I do you agree with me with if we got something like this, either because you could do a two-part movie. There's
Mhm.
certain parts in the movie, like let's say it ends with them fighting Steppenwolf the first time and they lose, right? Or
Right.
something along those lines. There could be two movies. Do you think that we would have a full blown DCEU if this was the trajectory they were on?
To be honest, I don't think so. Just because here's the reason why. I mean, like, I think the reason why this movie works as, you know, like actually like for what it like actually got right and what it actually does right is really just because you have double the length of the actual runtime. If you
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
like
I'm saying like if it was two movies or something like that.
I still feel
Not if it was
like
just one movie. It doesn't
I
work as
still
one movie.
I still feel like this would have been like almost a case of Batman v Superman again here, because I mean, Batman v Superman, like you have like all these things that are trying to happen, and like I think I think I kind of understand like Zack Snyder's problem now is like he has so many ideas, but he's trying to like cram it into like a 2.5 hour time block here, when really like he needed like the full like double that amount of time to do that here. But I mean I know what you're saying, like yeah, split it into two movies and whatever, but I think just the fact that you know Zack Snyder also had the benefit of hindsight. He was able to like actually kind of see like,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
what
big
did,
time.
what did people actually like about my movie that actually made it into theaters? What are the parts that people didn't like about that movie? Okay, now I can like just do, now I can actually like chain things up a little bit here, because I mean Zack Snyder, for all of his talk about like his vision and his artistry and all that here, he is a guy who does
Yeah.
listen to feedback here, which I mean credit where credit's due, because I mean there was like a a lot of talk, like I don't know if you remember or not, but like when Man of Steel came out, about how many people died like in Superman's battle against Zod, because they were like fighting in a populated city and all that. And then when Batman v Superman came
Yeah, yeah.
around, there was like, oh yeah, no, we're in an abandoned area. Like, let's make sure we iterate that a couple of times. That way when we blow up all these buildings and all that, it's not like thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
people are dying
Mass
type of thing.
casualties.
Right. So
Yeah.
I feel
No,
like
yeah.
I feel like he definitely had that opportunity to basically go back and like maybe like tweak some things, because remember, this is the same guy that wanted Batman and Lois Lane to have a relationship initially in this movie here, which you look at this movie now, you'd be like,
Yeah.
there's no way. And yeah,
Yeah, no.
so I think just because
Long
he
story short, you're a no.
yeah, I'm a no. I'm a no on that one. I
Okay.
definitely think like this would not be the movie we would have gotten if the studio just let Zack Snyder do his thing. I think the fact that he had
Oh
the
yeah, no.
extended runtime and the hindsight, this actually improved the movie as opposed to like hurt the movie.
So a follow up to that, because I think we would have had more movies at least. I don't know if they would have been good movies, but I think we would have had more.
Yeah.
Um, do you think now with the Snyder Cut coming out that this, like we said earlier, does it propagate having a separate timeline with Ben Affleck's the Batman movie or Batman, whatever he was going to be called?
Right.
Do we get another Justice League movie? Uh, do Flash and Cyborg? Do we, Flash movie's already coming out, but do we get another Aquaman movie? Do we get another Wonder? I think we are getting Aquaman 2 no matter what, because I think they're already
We
been
are,
filming
yeah.
it. But Shazam's
They're at
gonna be
least
part of that
working on
now.
it, yeah.
Shazam's
Yeah.
gonna be part of that now, which I
Yeah.
actually really enjoyed that movie. Do you think that we're gonna
I did too.
have a DCEU, like we said, separate from the Batman? Now, there is no rhyme or reason why we couldn't have two separate universes. There is so much to be done in the DC vein that just hasn't been tapped yet. So, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's really going to come down to how successful the Snyder Cut is, probably, to be honest with you.
I
I
think
I
it's
mean,
I think
it
it's already successful. If you're looking at the actors, like they're about it. If you look at like people
sure.
like Bat in the Sun, they're all about it. Like, like
Well,
these other
sure.
properties that are like, this is the Justice League movie we should have had, or something similar to it. So I think
Sure.
it is going to be more successful, but like you said, we'll see what happens.
Well, because I mean, ultimately, like, it's not really about like how critically acclaimed your movie is. It's about how much money you can pull in. I
For
mean,
sure, for sure.
and so I mean, I don't know what that's going to really look like in terms of like financials and whatnot. Now, I mean, from what Zack Snyder has been saying, like it sounds like he's done for the most part with the whole like Warner Brothers and like the DC movie thing here. So I
Yeah.
mean,
There's
it's
been
not.
some conflicting stories though, because I recently heard that he wouldn't be opposed to the idea of coming back.
Yeah, I mean, he has said that he has done, but I mean, he has a hard time making up his mind. Let's just put it that way here. Now, if again, I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
the reception to this movie, from what I've seen, by and large, has been positive. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, like it's like if you know you gave if you made a version of Last Jedi that Last Jedi haters like actually liked more and all that, they're gonna think it's the most amazing movie ever made, and then they're gonna want an episode 9 to be springboarded off of that, as opposed to like Rian Johnson's Last Jedi here or whatever. But I think
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean I feel like you know it it's anything's possible at this point, to be honest with you, just because I never thought we would actually get Snyder Cut like a year ago or when like
Yeah, me neither.
or for a while. I figured like
I
this
don't
was just
even
gonna
yeah.
I figured this was just gonna be something that just got left over by the wayside and lost to just history and all that and blah blah blah. So no, I think anything's possible at this point. Um, I mean, it's a it's a hard one to call. I will say that much. I mean, I think ultimately
Yeah,
it
I
comes
think
down to
for
dollars.
yeah, I think for me, I'm not opposed to it at all. I think that I know you might not be either, but just because we're such big fans of this universe,
Hmm.
there's so many more stories to be told. I'd love to see Nightwing in the mix. We still haven't gotten really a live action Nightwing adaptation.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't count Chris O'Donnell as Nightwing in even though he technically was supposed to be in Batman and Robin, but that was the closest we got, and that's the furthest away from the real Nightwing that I think it is possible. But Yeah, so I mean, still not really a good Robin representation either. I think that would be pretty cool. Damian Wayne, there's a lot of different things just within the Bat family, Batgirl that I'd like to see, and not whatever her name was, uh, Silverstone. I can't remember her first name. But yeah, I mean, I just call her.
Uh,
She was which movie was she in? I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I think that
I don't
they're
know, but
probably going to move forward with some other projects at least, or at least pour into the thing they have going, which is HBO Max. I think that there's could be some series spun out potentially from this in the future. If Zack Snyder wants to create his own universe on HBO Max, I don't doubt that HBO goes, well, we're getting all these subscribers for some weird reason around the certain time that the Snyder Cut came out. Uh, no, you can't do that. It's like, well,
let's
they're
give
going to look
that
at that.
let's give that
Yeah, I was just gonna say
yeah. Now
they're gonna
let's
look at
give
that and
that
go,
weird Zach. Yeah, let's give that weird Zach guy a call here or something. Or
right. Yeah, so we'll see. I I just in a general sense I enjoyed the movie. I think that it does deserve something else personally. Whether that's the Batman movie or whatever, just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I personally, I I don't know if I necessarily want to see, like Zack Snyder's version of Nightwing or Zack Snyder's version of Batgirl or yada yada yada. Just because, I just don't trust him to not with I don't want to trust him
I
with
just
more
want to see it
characters.
though. I don't No, I
Mm,
get that, but I just want to see it realized to either where, oh no, he's botched this. Don't let him touch anything again. We already got that with Justice League, but he did kind of redeem it a little bit. I just want to see with him listening to the fans if he'd bring in consultants and be like, "What should we do? I'm not going to do this alone." Like, but we'll see. We'll just see.
mm.
I'm personally
I
looking forward to
I
Robert
mean I
Pattinson
can't
Batman,
right as am
and
I here,
that could
but
very well
uh
establish, some of those characters that we're talking about, and uh still don't have a live action Hush, which I think is a shame. I think that could be something that plays into maybe this movie or a future movie, but we'll see.
sure. Yeah, I think I honestly think that in terms of like expanding the universe and like introducing new characters, I don't want Zack Snyder to really do that per se. I want him to like more or less just focus on like him like I want that to be done by somebody else, somebody who I think probably be more capable of doing it. I don't know who. I don't have any specific names per se, but I want somebody who doesn't like, who
The Russo
if
brothers.
I don't know, but but that being said, I think I am interested. I will say I am interested to see like if there was a sequel to the Snyder Cut, where that goes, how it goes. Unless if they're gonna end with like freaking Clark's and Lewis's son being Batman, like just stop. Like
I'm not about that really. Yeah.
just quit while you're ahead. Yeah, I am still interested in seeing that, post-apocalyptic version of the DCEU. I feel like that could be interesting, but yeah, man. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a thing. So
Well then.
it's all the time we got.
Yeah, I was just gonna do another plug. Radiant Black issue 2 came out. It's good. Go read it. Um, Pretty solid series so far. And then coming up next week, I'll probably have. I just got for my birthday. I got the first 7 issues, like compiled like a compendium of Ninja Turtles, like the OG original, which is very
Nice.
different than
Really?
it's yeah, it's definitely more tonally with less Ronin. Um,
Okay. Okay.
so yeah, I'll have probably a little review on that. But yeah, that's all we got this week, guys. Thanks for listening. If we have any more thoughts on the Snyder Cut, we'll let you know. But yeah, have an awesome week, and remember, everyone's nerd about something.